Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I am back with two more cards using the Spellbinders Stitch to Die of the Month for July. And here I am taking one of the snowflake cutouts, and I am going to turn each of the little leaves of the snowflake into a tree, and we're going to create a winter scene using those. So I have done this with 4 different colors of my cardstock here, and I'm going to stitch these exactly the same way that I did for the full snowflakes. I'm just creating that sort of border line through the whole thing here, giving you a quick look at how I did one of those. But I will go ahead and do that for all of them. And then once I'm done with my stitching, I will just tie a little knot with my 2 ends of string there to keep that closed. So now I want to create a hillscape. I've pulled in some of my Stamp Market vellum, and I am using some Thicker's alphabet alignment guides. So these are actually made to be able to align your Thicker's letters on your scrapbooking pages without having to, press them fully into place, but they work great as rulers. And I needed something in a larger size to give me this sort of curved hillside look. So these worked perfectly for that. I am doing this on a slim line card. So this measures 3.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to trim out some hillsides here. I'm going to make 3 of them. So the first 2 I'm using sort of this hillside curvy one, and then I'm going to pull in a second one that's really just sort of a half circle curve, and I'm going to use that to make my front hill. So just using my ruler there and then trimming with my scissors. For that front hill, I'm going to go ahead and stamp out my sentiment because I'm going to pop this up with some foam tape, and I want to make sure I've got my sentiment in place first. I'm going to use the Merry Christmas, which was included in the clear stamp of the month. And I'm going to stamp that out using one second. This is Close to My Heart ink called Candy Apple, and it matched that red really, really well. So once I have got this stamped, I will then be ready to put everything together. So I'm going to have my vellum hill in the very back, and then I'm going to layer that with my snowbank, and then, of course, my hill with the sentiment in the very, very front. Because I want to tuck my trees behind this, I'm just going to place at the bottom here 1 strip of ATG, and I'll put that vellum into place. And then for this next layer, I am going to pop that up using some of my Scotch foam tape. Again, just 1 layer along the bottom, so I'll be able to tuck my trees in there very easily. And I will do the same thing with this front hill, just 1 layer there along the bottom. I will have a little bit peeking out on either side, so I will just trim that with my scissors. And now that I've got all of those layered, all I need to do is tuck in my little trees and find the placement of those the way that I like them. So again, I try to keep things uneven when I'm using, little elements like this. So I ended up doing 4 on one side, 4 on the other side, and then 3 in the middle. And I am varying, adding one of the little trees with the star on the top to each of those groupings. And once I'm happy with my placement, I just need to add some of my art glitter glue and slide all of these into place. I really, for the most part, I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the front or back of the tree trunk, and I'm just gonna slide those into place. The rest I am leaving, you know, sort of unstuck for a little bit of extra dimension. If you're mailing this, you may want to add maybe a dot under the top of each tree just to sort of keep anything from catching. But for me, this worked just fine. I will go ahead here and add some art glitter glue to the back of my panel. I'm going to place this on top of a card base. This is made from my Nina cardstock. Making sure that's all down nice and flat. I'll grab one of my Nina paper panels and add that to the inside. And that is going to complete card number 1. All right, so hopping here into card number 2, we're going to create sort of a retro pattern. I really loved the little triangles and that sort of curved hexagon that was used for the center, and I wanted to play with those a little bit more. So I'm going to create a repeating pattern here, and I have gone ahead off camera and I've come up with the pattern that I wanted. I'm going to show you how I'm placing everything together here. So I am working on a 5x7 card panel, and I've started by creating a line down the very center. Now, I'm not great at math, so I tend to eyeball things, but I will oftentimes start with a center and move from there. So once I get this center line in place, I know I'm going to have 3 more on either side, and I'm just going to lay those out and do this by eye. Because honestly, the math would give me a headache. So I'm using sort of that line there on my mat that's behind here, and I'm gonna line up the middle one with that, and then I'm adding the other one on either side. It may not be quite perfect, but it will work well enough for me. And then once I have my little dots there where I want to place everything, I'll again use my ruler just to keep myself going straight as I add everything in. And I have sped this up quite a bit, but I have left in for you how I have placed each of these down to create my pattern. The little triangles I'm going to glue directly onto the panel, and then the little hexagons I am using a pop dot behind to give this a little bit of dimension. All right, so I have erased away any leftover lines there, and now we're going to add our sentiments. I'm again going to use that same Merry Christmas from the clear stamp set, and I will again be using that Candy Apple Red from Close to My Heart to stamp out the sentiment. I really think this pattern though, you could do this in a lot of different colors and make this for an everyday card. You could easily make that sentiment hello. This does not need to be Christmas themed. I have made a card base out of that. Let's see, this is MFT's Wild Cherry. Again, this is 5x7. I'm going to add some art glitter glue to the back of my panel, and I will place that down on top. Trim away any excess that might be on those other three sides. And to finish up, I will add my Nina paper panel, adding some ATG to the back there and placing that on the inside of my card base. And that will complete our second and final card for today. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find a link to my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I've used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.